War Eagle Auburn family, welcome back to another E2C Network live. This is Sunday night, and you know what's been happening on Sunday nights if you've been around for quite some time. We are in the middle of a live recording, well, about to be, of the Auburn Experience podcast, the banner show of the E2C Network with myself and Mr. Austin Scott. And we are excited to do this show tonight. Austin, what is up, my friend?
What's going on? Great weather.
Yeah.
Loving football weather and beginning of October. One of my favorite months. Got a lot going on. So, yeah, great weather to be inside Jordan Hare, if for no other reason.
I was about to say, when are you going to tie that in there somehow?
Yep. Yep. It was a beautiful day yesterday, for
It
real.
was absolutely gorgeous.
That's
Absolutely.
exactly what you draw up if you could. So, yeah.
Banner, they call it Chamber of Commerce Day, I think is what it's called. When you just have everything right
Yeah.
for, for a town or something like that on a
Right.
big event, something like that. So anyway, let me set the table for everybody who may be new or never watched one of these before. In about 5 minutes, so I've got the clock started now in my head, we will start our live broadcast recording. During that time, Austin and I will most likely not be interacting with the chat all that much, but we might in some occasions. But it'll be just us recording the podcast. You are more than welcome to chat with each other, talk about what we're discussing in the chat along with that. And then we will, I will at the end come back and talk a little bit about you as we're kind of just hanging out now for the first 5 minutes. And then the podcast will be available on all podcasts, probably as of midnight tonight. But also you can find it now on our second YouTube channel, which is dedicated to all of the audio podcasts. So the audio version of this will be available over there as well. If you have not subscribed, there will be links in the description. So that is kind of what to expect from tonight. So for the first now 4.5 minutes or so, we'll just kind of hang out, say hello to anybody that's here. Make sure you smash the like button, post where you're watching from. You guys know the drill. That's been here for a while and leading the charge. Thank you, Dusty, for saying hello with War Eagle. Good to hear from you, my friend. Oh, Austin. How do we, we pride ourselves on trying to give everybody a well-rounded experience, but you can't ignore the bad as well.
No, yeah, that's part of well-rounded, right? Yeah, just, everyone's seen all the stuff today about second half adjustments, no points, all this stuff. We've got a great follower base who's well in tune with everything going on. So, yeah, it's tough. I will say, we'll take a positive from all of it. Kyle, you were there too. That was a good environment. That was a great Auburn LSU environment that is typical over the years, no matter what's going on outside the noise. It was a good environment. We already talked about how great it felt. Just, a great college football day, regardless of what happened on the field.
It
However, on the
really
field,
was.
it was just a tale of two halves,
It is.
and just not the most fun in the second half. But they were competitive. Robbie Ashford just had a heck of a day on his
Mhm.
birthday, no less. Good for him.
See, I
Um,
didn't get that, like, until after the fact.
yeah,
Jessica's like, "Did y'all hear about how much it was his birthday the entire time?" And I was like, "No, we didn't have," it seems like, unfortunately, and, it's easy for me to make fun of it happening here because I'm not in a studio trying, well, I am in the studio, but in a
yeah.
video studio trying to come up with talking points, and it's like they harp on the same thing. Did you
Did
know
they?
Jarrett Stidham's from Texas? Did you know he's getting married? Did
Yeah,
you know that Bo Nix's dad, like,
yeah,
all that stuff? They just kind of find their talking point and like, hey, it's his birthday. It's his birthday. Happy birthday, by the way, Robbie. If you're watching, I know his mom
if
had
you're
watches the
Ashford.
channel. If you're Ashford, yes. Uh, oh,
Well,
I'm so tired, Austin.
at least we can know that will only be the talking point for yesterday. They can't say it's his birthday every week like they do the other thing. So they'll
You
find
think?
something, I'm sure, and I'm sure there's a whole lot of talking points they have about Auburn right now. So at
Yep.
least it was about his birthday and not everything else going on.
WT, I thought we would lose by much more, so I cannot say I'm totally disappointed. There's been a lot of conversation about this on social media today, and it's we all get in our camps, right? We always, scurry to our little corners and start throwing our little fisticuffs on the keyboards and stuff. By the way, on social media, I've stirred up the keyboard warriors today.
I saw.
Yeah, I got him going real nice. Like
When I saw that, I said, "Oh, he's starting early."
I was what is it, miffed this morning, so I was like, I'm gonna get it going today. I have stirred the pot, and it will be stirred probably for the rest of the evening for myself. Just be glad you're not in my DMs right now. Anyway, I don't even know where I was going with that. What were we even saying before I talked
Our
about
little
that?
camps on and
Oh yeah. Just
Yep.
there's a camp of, accepting any part of this is you being mediocre and accepting mediocrity. And then there's the part of, everything's going to be just fine. It's not either one of those. This ain't all right. But this also ain't accepting mediocrity by, understanding. Jessica probably was going to hit me today if I use the word one more time, context. And I talk about it a lot here. In a lot of the discussions we're having in person, but especially online, context is missing in a lot of it. Of it.
Yep.
But that's just me. And, I get frustrated when people operate outside of the context of a situation. And that's why I stir the pot sometimes. I'm not going to get you into trouble, though, tonight. Let's see who else is here.
We'll see.
I don't know why this reminded me of it, but how about that Auburn Opelika matchup for high school? Did you hear about that, or
I did. I guess we don't talk about our lives outside of this very much. I work at a high school, for those that don't know. So I was at our game. We're undefeated, and so it was a fun night at Lee Scout Academy.
You shut up.
A rival of Kyle's former alma mater. But yeah, I did hear it. It was, oh my gosh, traffic was ridiculous on Friday. Getting ready for that game, but yeah, sounded like it was a big one, and Auburn High is on a roll right now. State championships are at Jordan-Hare this year, so a lot of people are going to be hoping that Auburn High can go all the way because that place would be awesome. I would love to go to that. That would be pretty awesome.
I'd be actually intrigued to go to it this year if that's the case. If Auburn High makes it all the way in Jordan-Hare Stadium, and they've got a recruit, obviously, on the team, Braden Joyner, which you should be very, very glad to have right now.
Yes. Opelika made it, and Beauregard, for that matter, made it when I was in college, and it was a lot of people, a whole lot of people for both games. So, and Auburn High being a bigger school than both of them, I can't imagine how many people would show up for that.
Yeah, well, we'll have to wait and see. Still plenty of football to be played, even in high school.
That's right.
We'll see what happens with all that stuff. All right, so I think we're going to move into our recording time. I'll go ahead and put the reminder up. For those of you that are veterans here, do try to remind people that aren't understanding why we're not necessarily interacting all that much during this. You guys are the rocks of the E2C Network family by filling in the story. But y'all have fun in the chat. Behave this time. Don't make me come back in here and slap some hands like I had to last time. even though I probably directed some of that misbehaving that's going to be coming over here tonight. So I brought it on myself. But we'll go ahead and get this recording in, and I will hang out for a little bit with you guys afterward and talk a little bit about anything that you guys want to discuss. You ready, Austin?
Let's go.
3, 2, 1. David Housel said it best: the whole of the Auburn experience. Yes, it involves sports, Auburn football, and the ups and downs, the roller coaster ride that it continues to be and probably always will be, let's be honest. It involves Auburn volleyball right now, who is 14-0, probably one of the highest points, and I'm not that well versed on it, in their career. But it goes outside of sports. It goes beyond borders. It goes beyond states and counties. It's about all of us together through academics, through sports, through just life experiences. The Auburn experience is a beautiful thing when you look at the whole nature of it. And that is what we aim to accomplish here on this podcast, the Auburn Experience. And as always, that experience is best had with multiple people. Well, not multiple. I've just got one here tonight. My good friend, Austin Scott, my co-host for this show. Welcome back, Austin.
Thanks. Before you go, everybody, glad to be here again. Really, Kyle says it best every week in our little intro. The Auburn Experience, it encompasses so much, and we're glad to be doing it together, and glad to have everybody listening so we can all reminisce and talk about the ups and downs, like you said.
Well, I'll be honest, that was probably not my best intro, but hey, listen, not everything about Auburn's firing on all cylinders right now, so I think they can give me a little bit of grace.
That's right.
So our usual agenda is we've got at least 2 to 3 main topics that we want to hit. But in our opening segment, we just kind of have started calling it the "What's Hot" section. You know, like what's got everybody jazzed to talk about. And unfortunately, during the times like this, that's some negative stuff. But you know, just maybe frustrating things, and obviously around Auburn football, what's going on with it right now. For those of you that may be listening in posterity, if that's the right word, yeah, in the future.
Yep.
You know, Auburn's going through a bit of an up and down season. Maybe coaching changes on the horizon as well. 3-2. A lot of people had high hopes that we were going to be 5-0, exiting a 5-game home stretch, which we'll talk more about in just a second in our second topic. But we're 3-2. I think a lot of people were realistic and said 4-1. I said 5-0, but you know, 4-1. We sit 3-2. And the buzzword that is being really thrown around a lot lately, Austin, is second half adjustments. You cannot escape it. The facts are there. The stats are there. The obsession is there in some sense of the word. Second half adjustments, when I say that, what's your take of it for Auburn football, and how do you process all of that?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it. A lot of people it's going around. It's being talked about because Auburn has just struggled in the second half to be able to put points on the board, look resembling of the team that they are in the first half. Last week with Missouri, jump out to a 14-0 lead, don't score again until overtime. This weekend, jump out to 17-0 lead, and Auburn never recovers and is able to get down the field again. So it's frustrating, and fans are frustrated, and I get it, rightfully so, because that's what these coaches they're employed to do. Is it's not just game plan throughout the week; it's make those adjustments on the fly and figure out how you might need to tweak things in order to stay in the game and keep firing on all cylinders. Auburn in the first half, an offense that we haven't seen really all year, looked composed and put together. Robbie Ashford had an incredible start and really played well the rest of the night before fumbles kind of got to him, but just couldn't keep it going to get in the end zone, though they had their chances in the second half. So it's frustrating. We all see the stats on how few points are being scored, how no touchdowns are being scored. It's not a recipe for success, and I get the frustration a lot, but I would caution people to say, "Oh, the coaches don't understand," because they have all the analytics, they have all the stats, and they see all that you're seeing and then some. And I guarantee they're frustrated as well. Their jobs are on the line. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter if they're winning or not. Their jobs are always on the line because that's the state of the sport today. So they understand it. Uh, let's hope they can get it turned around for Auburn's sake and their own. Um, but I get the frustration from all involved.
I get it. I understand it. I was equally frustrated, and I've been
Yep.
equally frustrated as everybody else. I've been in, except for the second game, every single game so far. So I've witnessed an impertinence. You know, Bruce Pearl, in a good way, talks about needing witnesses to come and see, you know, the team obviously play at home, but on the road
Right.
especially. We've all been witnesses, either on the radio, on the TV, or in person, to the second half. But as you said, the coaches, the players, they have all the stats. They have the actual experience of what's happening on the field. It's very easy for us to sit back and point these things out, for beat writers to sit there and point these things out. And that's the beat writer's job. I get it. I wish some of them, you know, had not such a slant in certain directions, but that's not my decision to make. That's everybody's going to make their own choices. But let's hit the facts and talk about the second half, because it is not a good thing when you actually look at what it looks like. You can find this. Everybody's sharing it, repasting it. I don't know who to credit with the original. I am sure it is one of our beat writers or media personalities with the Auburn space. But going back to the Ole Miss game, these are the points that were scored in the second half in 2021. Ole Miss 3, Texas A&M 0, Mississippi State 6. I can't believe we scored 6 against Mississippi State. I forgot about how many points we even scored that, because we allowed so many points. Let's not even talk about it. I can watch like his face turning red right now.
I can't relive that one.
South Carolina 3, Alabama 0, Penn State 6, Missouri 0, LSU 0. And when I look at this, breakdown of the second half scoring, the most not mind-numbing and frustrating part is in the last 3 of 4, 0.
Yeah.
It's not from a lack of trying. And people love to throw out, well, no adjustments were made. Adjustments were made, but adjustments are made on both sides. The question is who made the better adjustments based off of the information at hand. It looks like the other team each time has done that. You'd expect that from teams like LSU, Penn State, Alabama, but you may expect teams like Missouri, South Carolina, probably the state that they're in currently when Auburn played them, to not be making as good of second half adjustments. So all in all, like, I just don't know how to completely rationalize this, because like you said, we see it for ourselves here written out. We're frustrated too. We also recognize that we don't have all the information. How do we process as Auburn fans going forward?
Yeah, and I think it's important because I don't want anyone jumping on us. These are Power 5 opponents.
Yes.
And I mean, that's more on now. Granted, Mercer and San Jose State have great programs. Blah 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 blah. That's more on the level of what you would expect to be scoring
I
in a
don't think you're
quarter.
going to have to worry about Mercer and San Jose State fans coming to get you.
We'd welcome them. We'd welcome them. I'll share my Twitter handle at the end of the episode. But yeah, and I think you made a good point about it's not for lack of adjustments. They're not going in at halftime being like, all right, we're doing great things. I bet they're over there, saying, oh, we're beat tonight and not changing a thing. And they're not doing that in the game either. But it is the effective adjustments that aren't happening. And Kyle, you hit on that the other team has good coaches too that are well employed and well thought of, and their adjustments are working better. Now, that's not an excuse for Auburn's coaches, because their job is to figure out how to make better adjustments than their adjustment, and that's all throughout the second half. And it's not happening, and that's where the frustration comes in. And I think that a lot of people like to balance the line of coaching versus player execution. And I think there's guilt on both sides.
Right.
You can argue, is there more on certain side than the other? And I think that would be another time and place for that. But there is guilt on both sides. And if you don't think that's the case, Anders Carlson, we love him. He's struggling kicking the ball through the uprights. Now, granted, he had an ACL tear. How's that affected him this year? We don't know. He's struggling. And so I think that's an easy way to see that that's an adjustment. We all saw all the turnovers, we all saw all the turnovers. Some were lost. Some fumbles weren't lost. That all slows things down anyway. So that's player execution that's not happening. And it doesn't matter if you make the best adjustments in the world. If your players can't execute it and perform to what those adjustments are capable of, we're going to keep seeing the same results. So there's guilt on both sides. Makes it equally frustrating, though.
It does. Yeah. And, the funny thing is a lot of people want to act like they have all the answers, but then when you ask them to give you the answers, they won't provide them, or they say, I love this excuse, I'm not paid millions of dollars. Well, then why are you offering your take on this thing? I mean, like, okay, you were just now you want to disparage what you were just saying about we need second half adjustments, but because you're not making millions of dollars, you're just admitting that you're not qualified to make that statement. Listen, frustrations abound. We've said it a lot. I've asked, pleaded, begged, rationalized for people to have patience. I don't think we're going to get that based off of reading the tea leaves. When I first say that to Coach Harsin, I hope I'm wrong, because if Coach Harsin fails, Auburn fails. And I think that's what's lost about a lot of people. A lot of people are starting to celebrate this. Aha, we got you. We're saying the second half adjustments. We've got the facts to show for it. But you're missing that celebration that you're having about getting Coach Harsin. That means that Auburn fails too. Maybe temporarily, yes. But the question is, does that struggle they go through put them back even further in a race that is quickly getting ahead of them? When we talk about Alabama's and Georgia's, Texas A&M, God love them. They have every tool they could have, and they still can't get the job done. LSU will get back up there. You see what an LSU team could. They were not a good LSU team when we played them last night, but they have the athletes, and it's just a matter of, can Brian Kelly do what he's done? If he flips that switch with LSU that's there, oh boy, that's going to be a dangerous team. The question is, we'll have to wait and see. I would just love the opportunity for us to use context wait for the second half adjustments to maybe get there a little bit longer, be patient, and maybe the switch gets flipped. Not as quickly as we would have liked it to, but I think it's a fair request. But that's just me, and I tend to be a little bit more patient than most, probably to my own detriment. I don't know.
Sure. I
I
think
don't
there's an argument for both. I get some of the people that would like a change to happen. I get their points, and I see all the things that are the points on both sides, whether it's, well, look, the trajectory of recruiting or the trends of where others are going and what's a priority now. And I also see the patient side that if you never give someone time to build, then you're just in a constant circle. I think there's a nice balance in there. And someone has to make those decisions. There's an
It is
interim
not us.
athletic director, and that is not us, and I'm okay with that. But what I hope, and I know Kyle feels the same way, is that those people make those best decisions. Those decisions not for themselves and not for what they would prefer, so they can have more input or that they can say gotcha, but that Auburn succeeds, whether that's short term or long term. So we'll have to see. We will definitely be talking about it more as the
Mhm.
year goes on. I have no doubt.
And that's the scary thing about this. Humans are making those decisions.
Yep.
Scary, scary time. Well, let's move into our second topic tonight. Not so much about football specifically, although this is kind of within that topic. We like to give you a kind of a well-rounded discussion here. Something now that we've completed this 5-game homestand that started with Mercer, San Jose State, Penn State, Missouri, and now LSU, Lions and Tigers and Bears and Spartans. Oh my goodness. I mean, it was
That
just,
was good. There you go.
I've been practicing that a few times
I
before we got
bet. Yeah.
started. I mean, I like to pretend that I'm that good to come up with something off the top of my head, but I'm not. Let's just be honest. People who've been watching this channel for a long time or listen to the podcast know that enough about me. But 5-game homestand, the amount of times, not just this weekend, but especially this weekend because it happened more so, people came up to me and said, "Boy, you look tired." I'm like, "Wow, thanks. No, thanks." I mean, you're basically telling me I look awful. I mean, I get that. I mean, it's a miracle that Jess said yes to me when I asked her to marry me. But I mean, geez, I must have been looking pretty rough this weekend. 5 games in a row at home for me. Obviously, those of you that know what I do, I'm on campus for every home game that I can be and sharing the experience, and that requires a lot of walking, a lot of adjusting to schedules and things like that. And I love what I do. But I'm speaking just for people that come to the games on a regular basis and that come to most of them, if not all of them. 5 games in a row at home, while in some aspects is nice, it can also be maybe a detriment in a lot of ways when you kind of compare to what maybe happens maybe traditionally. And like next year, what's coming is a
Hmm.
lot more staggering of maybe a home and away, but or maybe 2 games home and then away, 2 games home and then away. So that's where I'd like us to park it for a little second and talk about that aspect. And Austin, what do you think about preferences, the goods, the bads of what we just went through versus what's coming next year, or just even outside of these 2 years? What do you think about that? Like, what do you prefer?
Sure. Yeah. This is the second time I can remember that I've kind of gone through this. My junior year while at Auburn, we had 5 straight games to start as students. It was the year we started with Clemson. I can't remember. We had A&M was third. I can't remember the rest of them. That would have been 2016. So it was exhausting then as students, just because it was like, you know, not that you don't want to go, but there's just no break. And as students, you got to wait a long time to get in line, then to get in, then for the game, and then rightfully so, you're expected to be the bunch that is there till the end and loudest. And so, as a student, it was exhausting. Now it's still exhausting. I think that I was really excited because I love home games and I love going to Jordan Hare Stadium when it all came out. But it at week after week, it's a lot,
Mm,
and especially when um, we've had different weather like we've had. It was really hot for Penn State. We've had rain. you get in that cycle, and I can't imagine like for Kyle, like you or others who try and come to every game and drive into town or travel in, because that's just like you're planning your entire weekend for 5 straight weekends of
Yep.
either get in town Friday night or early Saturday morning, leave late Saturday night or leave Sunday, and then back doing it again the next week. And so I'm not a fan. I would prefer we just kinda I don't really even wanna alternate home away. I think like you said, 2 home, 1 away, 2 home, 1 away. I know it's not always perfect like that, and
Right.
we've already talked about other people's jobs tonight, but the people who have to make schedules, that stresses me out just to think about it, of how to appease everyone and get
Right.
all the right times and everything. So I would prefer you kinda even out throughout the entire year, because that's the other thing. Now we've had 5 home games. We only have like 2 or 3 left, 2 left, I think.
Right. And
Arkansas, Western Kentucky, and someone else
yeah,
the
and
rest of the way. So
that's a good point because I found myself today leaving campus this morning, and I stayed in until about lunchtime to do a little bit of work. And yeah, I was tired and I was ready to have a break, quote unquote.
mhm,
But gosh, I realized like the season's half over, and I spent it
yeah,
half of it here already. Well, I mean, technically after this week it'll be half
sure.
over, but yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of good things that come out of it. Now, can you imagine if we did 5 in a row with the heat that was there? I think the 2019 year where we didn't get like a day below 80 until like the middle of October. This would have been absolutely miserable. Whether there was rain and overcastness, the humidity alone would have just been awful. I mean, yeah, we had to deal with some rain in the first 2 games,
Mhm,
and that just goes outside of the actual football game, but how that affects tailgating, merchants, all
yep.
that stuff. We call it a chamber commerce day. They need that as well, and they need the football team to do. Clint, I got to give him credit. We were talking this weekend, talked about, people forget how much the city and the
Oh,
surrounding areas are affected by the football team too. Like,
amen.
you want to talk about pressure?
Yeah.
You didn't just fail your team. You didn't just fail a fan base. You failed an economy. Bam.
Well, and
How about
outside of
them
that,
apples?
outside of even the merit, if you don't believe that, go look at COVID year for tons of small towns like Auburn that rely on the college atmosphere and those 8 Saturdays a year to make it throughout the year. So, yeah, no doubt. I mean, if that's to have 5 straight for them, I'm sure is fantastic, and all that money gets spent in
Yeah.
town every weekend. Um, but gosh, I can't imagine, like you said, the heat for 5 straight. Thankfully, we ended it on such a perfect day yesterday.
And that's what I had hoped for when I saw this schedule come out. I was like, all right, maybe that October 1st
Mhm.
LSU game will be just the very beginning Christmas of the fall.
Yep.
And it was still pretty warm during the day.
Mhm.
But when that sun went down and we were all in that stadium together, whoo,
Yep.
man, you couldn't have gotten much better. Maybe I could have dealt with a little bit more chill in the air so I could actually
Mhm.
have to wear jeans, but I enjoyed the heck out of it. But I see the benefits of being here for 5 straight home games and just going, ham about all of that stuff. I'm
Sure.
sure that the merchants downtown are just like, bring it in. But now it's kind of like, we gotta get to see you until the end of October. So, in your mind, so it sounds like we both prefer a schedule that favors more of a staggered approach. Are you a 1 and 1, like a home away, or do you prefer like the 2 home games, 1 situation?
I don't think I like every other. I think that's just a little bit. I don't know. I don't know. I can see the benefit of both, because another thing we haven't brought up is Auburn's going on the road for the first time
That's
now
yeah,
this
perfect.
week, 6 or 5 games in. And that the road in the SEC is huge, of having to figure that out, especially, and I know it's not like a super young team, but you're gonna have Robbie Ashford starting, and a kid who's never played on the road, maybe ever
Right.
in his career as a starter. And so to get that kind of under your belt early has its benefits. But I think if I could just choose forever, I think I'd do like 2-1, 2 home, 1 away, 2 home, 1 away. If you gotta do 2-2 at some point during the season, I think that's probably, like, ideal for me.
Well, I don't have
But
it pulled up right. Go ahead.
definitely in October. Like, that one year, we didn't have a single home game in October
It's
was
basically this time around.
yeah, you're
Basically.
right. You're right. Where is that beginning and end? Like, that's the worst. I like it. I don't care how it plays out as long as we have 3 to 4 games in October because the that's the best time to watch football in person, in my opinion. And so, yeah, I'm so glad I'm not in charge of any of that.
Yeah, it's not a role that we find envy in having to figure all that out. But I just think it affects so many different things. Like, yeah, it's been great and fun doing it for 5 straight games, like we've said. But I'm sure the merchants would like a little bit more steady income. I'm sure we, as you just brought up, the great point that it took us forever to get to, of your team needs to go on the road and figure out who they
Mhm.
are. Let's just park it there for a second. This is a team that's been trying to find stability and identity, and they have struggled to do it at home. What do you think's gonna happen when they go to Athens? What do you think's
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
happen when they go to, Vaught Hemingway Stadium, when they go to Stark Vegas? What do you
Yep.
think's gonna happen? Like, I'm not saying doom and gloom, destruction, despair. I saw a lot of things in this football team, even in a loss, that were very encouraging. But if you don't think that's not gonna play a huge factor, then you haven't been watching football. So the fact that we are game 6 and first time going on the road, and throw in the context of a completely beleaguered offensive line, perception, health, all that, and a brand new starting quarterback, it probably would have been a great year to be in the opposite schedule. Like,
Yeah.
if we were doing this year, that'd probably be the best thing. Maybe.
Sure. Yeah, hindsight 2020. Yeah, oof, I don't know. I'm not saying Auburn's gonna lose those games, but for a team like this, like you're saying, like, that's big,
Mhm.
and to not have that, but I guess that's part of too, and maybe why a lot of people had those, optimistic thoughts about the first 5 games is you love Auburn's chances at home.
Oh
I
yeah.
don't care what kind of a team looks like. That's the kind of atmosphere Jordan-Hare Stadium can provide. Uh, but when it doesn't go your way, and now you're at 3-2, or and now you got to go on the road. Not quite as much optimism going around, but if the SEC listens to this podcast, which I'm sure many of them do up there, the big decision makers, I'm sure this is a must listen for them every morning on when they start their day. Um,
If that's the
we would
case, then I got a
we
few things to say, other than what we're talking about here.
we would like you to put us in touch with the officiating, please.
Yes.
We would prefer us Auburn fans would prefer the scheduling of alternating a little bit more. SEC,
Could you
if you can
please
handle that.
just, yeah, just what we want, could you just make that happen? That'd be
Yeah,
great.
yeah,
You have no other priorities other than to make us happy. Final thing on this, because you brought it up, talking about the advantage of being at home. I gave a shout out to War Eagle Productions last week and got to do it again. Also on top of that, Will Herring, somehow, if
mm,
you get this, my friend, outstanding this year video, the hype
yeah,
video of, respecting what Jordan-Hare brings to the table in terms of atmosphere and stuff like that. Like, I watched it 5 times now. Well, 4 technically.
yeah.
And it just gets me chills every single time. I love it. Well done, Will Herring, and well done, War Eagle Productions.
Yeah, it's one of the best ones they've had in a while.
And
Someone told me at one point that there's like one is the kickoff video and one is the tunnel video, and I guess that would be the kickoff video because the team
mhm,
has
is
come out
out.
at that
Yep.
point. So,
Yep. That's getting the fans fired, that final burst of energy,
hmm
ready to go, making, first half adjustments. We won't go back to that topic.
yeah, no.
All right, let's move into our final segment of the show. We again love to give you a well-rounded experience here, and we've talked a lot about football and the things that surround that. But we're going to talk about something here that I know not a lot of you that listen spend enough time on, and I think that you should. And it's hard to do so sometimes, depending on your schedules, whether it's on TV and whether it lines up if you're coming into town or not. I a lot of times don't understand the scheduling. I know there's reasons why these things are scheduled the way they are, but to me, it seems like you would try to line up the home games with the home games and stuff like that. But we're not going to dive into that as much. If you haven't been aware, Auburn volleyball, and that's where we lose some of the listeners. I'm kidding. I know. Listen, I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, but we're going to talk about it here because this is how you don't get affected by the football struggles as much, because you are able to find happiness in other things related to Auburn. 14-0 under coach Brent Crouch right
Mm,
now. Now, you may say, okay, what's the big deal? It's volleyball, but I think people don't understand where the team has been. Um, since I've been doing the show, volleyball has always kind of been on the back burner of a lot of people's focus. I would argue, and this is not meant to be disparaging towards the program, former coaches, former players, and current otherwise. I would argue it probably gets the least attention these days of all of the athletics programs. Do you feel like that's fair to say, Austin, or do you feel like there's
No,
some
I think
other
yeah,
areas?
I think that's definitely fair. And we joked about why do people what people might be saying, why do we care? Well, probably because it's struggled in the last decade and a half.
Mhm.
It's not been consistently uh successful, and it's kind of flatlined for a little while. Just and I don't mean flatlined, it just died off, but just been at the same spot for a long time,
Right.
and you lose interest in things like that when there's nothing to get you high or even low for. I think about really random similarity here, but I think about Mississippi State women's basketball. No one cared at all until they started winning the SEC and they started making it and beating playing and beating teams like UConn.
Mhm.
Uh, Auburn volleyball, and I'll be honest, I've never been. I say that I went to one as a student, but I've never been to one outside of that. And the only reason I know they're 14-0 is because the different Auburn social media channels have done a good job of promoting that, and people are
Yep.
starting to pick up on it. Um, and so, yeah, I think it's not gotten a lot of attention in the last few years, but this is something to give attention, and rightfully so. And so,
Right.
good for them. It's a really young team, so that should make you even more inclined to want to jump on and start following this team because these girls are going to be here for a while. These are Coach Crouch's players that he's brought in.
Mhm.
This is his second year, Kyle. Is
Hey,
that correct?
hey, here's that sneaky thing of giving coaches time. Oh, I'm
Mm,
sorry I
mm.
bring that up again.
This is his second year, though, correct, Kyle?
So if I have my numbers correct, so he arrived and the season got canceled because of COVID,
Mm,
and then
hmm.
they went to do another season, and then I think there was more of a numbers issue, and that one was technically canceled like the eve of the season too. I believe
Yeah,
this is his third technical season, although they've never truly played one. I could be wrong on that. I just know it's been kind of a, a tumultuous start to
sure.
get there. It may be even before. The point still stands. We haven't spent a lot of time with Coach
Hmm.
Crouch, his staff, and the program since he's taken the control of it.
Yeah, no, definitely. And so it should be exciting. And I think, Auburn's had history of not caring really about sports either when they're not doing well. Softball, you can take for example, until they got some good players in and started going to Women's College World Series. That got really hot. It's kind of simmered down a little bit, but still has a lot of intrigue because it's a fun sport. Volleyball is a fun sport, and so I
It
hope
is. It's
that,
a very fun sport.
and if we want to even get a little more particular, people stop caring about basketball for a long time. And a certain coach came in and got his players and made it fun again too. So who's to say that can't happen with Coach Crouch and Auburn volleyball? It already looks like it's happening because they're undefeated, 14-0, and so yeah, I hope people will start to. Kyle and I are going to make sure that we investigate it a little more. We're going to check out the stats, and I'm putting a lot of on Kyle that he and I have not talked about right now.
Oh
But
gosh.
we're both going to talk about what we're saying and put our money where our mouth is and
Yeah,
check out this team, and I hope others will too. And maybe we'll have a little 2-minute update every week if they
we might.
keep going well. And yeah, who knows?
Especially if other sports start diving and we need something happy to talk about. I mean, that's
Yeah,
it's kind of what we addressed at the top of the segment here is that having a well-rounded experience where you can take value in things outside of whatever it's football, whether it's baseball, basketball, softball, gymnastics, things that take the big attention right now.
hmm,
Um, if you can do that, this makes having the Auburn experience so much better. And listen, let's not mince words out here. They're 14-0, right? Huge celebration right there. And let's give credit to Alan Green, former athletic director.
that's right.
I believe this was his first hire, like
Yep,
opportunity. Someone left. I believe former coach Rick Nold stepped down,
yep,
which is, you can argue whether it was told to step down, whatever, doesn't matter at this point. And so this is someone that he brought over from USC, but I believe,
that's
and
right.
it's kind of like an interesting, you don't see Auburn and the West Coast hooking up a whole lot in mini sports. And here we are. And this thing seems to be right now rolling. Obviously, we probably jinxed them. So sorry, Coach Crouch. Sorry, volleyball, that Austin and I just ruined the season for you if that's what happens. But I
Probably.
like what I'm seeing. They have a lot of fight in them. If nothing else, this will make you very happy. In a 2-game match, they swept Alabama 3-1 in sets both time. That is just juicy in and of itself right there. Like, I will take that all day and twice on Sunday. And then they've gone through a lot of the typical names that you'll see when you play a lot of sports in non-conference. Like, you see softball take on the Georgia States, the Alabama States, the Georgia Techs. I don't think they played Georgia Tech, but UAB, Troy, they've gone through that. So they're really getting into the heart of this thing. But they're starting to get attention where they're on TV a little bit more. So look on your schedule and see if Auburn volleyball is going to be on TV. I mean, for the first time, there were people buzzing about it on social media this past week when they took on Mississippi State and were able to win that 3-2. And it went all the way down to the wire. In case we're not going to spend all our night tonight, talking about the ins and outs of volleyball, but they play 5 best of 5 sets. So 3-2 sets, Auburn won. I'm excited because I like it when we bring something back to the forefront and have something to celebrate outside of football, basketball, and baseball. Who knows? We watched softball climb. We watched gymnastics climb. We've watched equestrian climb. Maybe, yes, Austin, we're talking about in a few years' time, and volleyball being, the next one of those.
Yeah. Hey, why not? And I mean, it certainly looks like things are starting off hot, and like Kyle said, we probably ruined their season, but
Sorry,
that just bill
I
us, I
blame
guess.
Austin. I blame
Yeah,
Austin.
that's fine. Blame me. But this could be a whole lot of fun. So, you know, next game is at LSU, so maybe they can pick up some revenge.
We need
for us.
revenge, please.
That's right.
Please.
It's down there in Baton Rouge. It's on E2C Network Wednesday night at 7 p.m. So tune in. I'm gonna have it tuned in because I want to see this team keep winning and be undefeated. And then, hey, if you're like listening to us and you're like, what are these guys talking about? They got to go to Auburn 5 weeks in a row. I got to go to Auburn 5 weeks in a row, and I love going to Auburn. If you want to come back to Auburn, if you want to come back to my home city here, because I live here, Kyle, in case you
Just
forgot,
rub it in. Just keep it up. You want that? You want to auger for that hole you're digging with me right now? Just rub it in.
If you want to come on back for 6 weeks in a row, the Auburn volleyball team plays Georgia on Saturday and on Sunday inside Neville Arena. Let's go ahead and beat Georgia in some sport this weekend, and you get to come back to Auburn. So yeah, support this team. I'm going to do a better job of supporting this team, and who knows? It could be a whole lot of fun year for Auburn volleyball, and could be the start to something pretty special.
And let's talk. We just kind of talked about scheduling in the last segment too. Who decided that? Well, of course, they didn't know when the Auburn Georgia game was going to get picked up, so never mind. But it's just unfortunate timing that we'll be in the heat. Not necessarily true, but the middle of a Georgia Auburn football matchup when the the first volleyball matchup is going on, because there'll be a 2-game matchup that they'll have on Saturday and Sunday. So Auburn volleyball, put it in your schedule. Pay attention to it, because we're going to be discussing it here more on this show, and you guys can hold us to that if we don't hold up our end of the bargain. And as always, just blame Austin if we don't do it, because it's always his fault.
It's the easiest thing to do.
It really is. That's what the co-host is for, my friend. So sorry about that. That is our show for today. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. For those of you that watch the live recording, you are always the best. We appreciate you doing that here on YouTube. For those of you that are listening on the audio channel, we invite you to do so on YouTube if you want to, but you're also welcome to listen here on the audio podcast, wherever you're listening to them, or on the audio only YouTube channel that we have now for the podcast, the second channel that we have. However you got this show, thank you for being here and being part of our little family within the Auburn family. You can find me on Twitter at Tiger Eye. Nope, that's not it. Actually, you know what? That's at Tiger Eye 24. At me there for those of you that are mad that I stirred the pot this evening on social media. But if you would like to be, if you would like to find me really on Twitter at Kyle Loomis 24, where can they find you, Austin?
Austin G. Scott on just about anything and everything. This is one of my favorite parts of the week. I hope it's our listeners' favorite part of the week whenever they get a chance to tune in. And yeah, we'll be back again next week after Auburn volleyball is 17-0.
I love it. I love it. We'll be talking to you then. Thank you for tuning in and letting us share the Auburn experience with you. War Eagle.
War Eagle.
And And that is the show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We are going to release Austin to his whatever he needs to do so he can't be blamed anymore. I will stick around a little bit to talk with you all. And we had a lot of chats going on in there. So I want to see what was going on. Do we have any misbehaving going on?
Well, only misbehaving by some creepy little site commenting on our stuff.
Was it one of those again?
Some
See
spam.
that's one of those problems that I can't do in that moment, but we'll talk about it. Austin, you are released, sir. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone. We'll see y'all next week. War Eagle.
War Eagle. All right. Y'all are stuck with me, whether you want to be or not. So, what's on your mind? There's really no agenda and no time frame for this. At most, we'll stay on for another 15, but it just depends on how the conversation goes here. So drop in comments and questions, anything that you'd like to talk about, whether it was something that we discussed here or not. I miss Tub. I miss Tommy Tuberville too. His time ended not in a way that it should. It was very, he never had all the support that he deserved. And I think it's a fair question to ask, if we want to just play the what if games, what would have happened if he got Cam? Well, here's the reality. People like to ask that question. He probably doesn't get Cam because there's just so many variables in there you don't know and aren't aware of. You got to have an attractive offense to attract a player like that. Cam, maybe in that alternate reality, doesn't even need to transfer from Florida. Maybe he doesn't get involved in all that laptop stuff. Who knows? Not too much misbehaving. Not sure if Dusty is still here, but everyone was ignoring his booster comments. I didn't see them, so I will have to go back and look at some of them later on because I don't want to get too far back in the chat. You love it when I stir the pot. I'm glad that y'all enjoy the show. I don't necessarily like to, but sometimes some things need to be said. And it's always funny to watch the ones that respond to it on social media because usually if you're responding to it in a certain way, that means that you recognize you're part of the problem subconsciously. WT brings up, keep Harsin till the end. Anything else will hurt the program and scare away any decent coach. I'm not even going to go that far with it, WT. You've heard me here talk about what's best for Auburn is what needs to happen. There can reach a point where it is too bad of a situation to keep Harsin, even for Auburn. We kind of almost reached that point, right or wrong, whether all that stuff was true or false, which we know now seems to have not held no water, as far as we can tell. That we were asking the question, have we reached the point of no return? Is Harsin too damaged goods because of what others tried to do for it to be productive for him? We may be seeing the effects of that now in some sense of the words. Now, what happens on the field obviously determines most of these things, but I would not say that. Look, you guys know that I was a Gus Malzahn, and I still am, apologist. And, there could still reach a point where that was not the case. Don't think we reached the point with Gus. Think that was a little short-sighted. But there is a point where you have to ask the question. I don't think we've had enough time with Harsin to figure that out. That's just kind of where my thought process is at this moment with the information that I have. And that's the great point too. You hope that you have a decent replacement lined up. Now, whose idea of decent matters is who the decision means. We all like the sexy pics of Deion Sanders. We like the Lane Kiffins, Bobby Petrinos, but they sound good rather than usually end up being good. Maybe I'm wrong, but can someone pick the last super big, I'm going to use the word again, sexy hire that someone made that worked out for them long term? And I know you mean this sarcastically, Hillbilly, but again, you're missing context from your comment there about Gus. But hey, you want to hate on the man? Be my guest. I still love the dude, and he was a good fit for Auburn. Let's see. My favorite is when I ask people what should be done instead, and they say, well, I don't know, but not this. Well, that's the comment. People usually make comments without thinking it all the way through. They just want to get the reaction and not the response. And so that's why, a lot of the things that I post on social media, I ask the question first, would I be willing to back this up, say this to this person's face? And I usually don't get into long discussions on social media. I am here live every Wednesday night for open mic night. So you can come get me whenever you want. And I have to fess up to it because I'm right here on camera. And I'm not perfect and I will make mistakes, but at least I'm right here where you can find me. Let's see. Oh, there's that thing again here. I can block them this time. I'm going to block them. I'm going to block the sketchy ones. We want to talk about something we could probably all agree on is that if you are spending your time making multiple accounts to spam whatever, whether it's a live stream or not, you really need to check yourself. You really need to ask, am I spending my life well? Probably not. Probably not. All right, let me go back a little bit. Ooh, okay, so that was that same one that was doing it throughout the stream. So sorry, guys, I wasn't able to catch that. Yeah. Devin, I see that you already know the names of the volleyball team. I will be honest with you, I have not learned them yet. And see, that's me and Austin being accountable. We preach these things, but yet we don't keep up with them as much as we could. Is that a new one? No, I think I got it last time. Hopefully that doesn't mess the stream up. No, okay, I got it. Yeah, I hate it when it's hard to tell if it actually took them out all the way, but I think it did at this point. I don't know anyone was disparaging Coach, but there was a brief moment where people were saying Coach Pearl ain't it, and he's not going to get it done. And look what happened. Goodness. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, we've been talking about a lot about War Dustbuster lately with people in person and not. Linda was here. We were talking about it at Tiger Walk this week and how that came about. And there are things that you wish wouldn't become affiliated with your brand, but if it gives y'all something to laugh about and connect over, I guess that's okay. War Dustbuster to that is all I would say. I just catch on the names really fast. Only watched a couple of matches. Yeah, I mean, usually repetition helps. And the good thing is that now that they're in SEC play, talking about the volleyball team, they will have more opportunities to be on the SEC network and be able to be seen and stuff like that. Keep waving that banner, Hillbilly. I hope you're right in the sense that that's what's best for Auburn. But if it's not, it looks like I stirred the pot on social media today, but I also stirred the pot with the spammers because they're coming back with another one. There they go. We'll just keep setting them up, keep knocking them down. That's what we do here. Speaking of stirring the pot, that's what you were doing when you brought up War Dustbuster. Alan, like to talk about the Auburn Fishing Club, big time Auburn fun, win or loss. Okay, not really understanding. Did you like the Auburn Fishing Club? Yeah, we won the national championship of sorts a few recent years ago. Listen, that's what we want to do here on the E2C Network is cover every single aspect that we can. The question is who's going to do it and with what time. And I'm kind of strapped right now, especially during football season. But my hope is that we can continue to spread our wings, not just to other Auburn sports, but other Auburn aspects as well. It's so much fun to watch the live streams of the events on game day after experiencing them in person. Doesn't it make it a little bit better? Isn't that nice? Yeah, it does. Hillbilly thinks that Deion's the best to get us back in the playoff picture. I don't know how you'd see that. He's had no Power 5 experience. Sure, he can recruit at that level, but can he do it here? He'll probably have a great first couple of seasons, but listen, if Deion gets hired, as I've said, awesome, because I'm going to root for Auburn, and I'm going to hope that whoever made the decision to hire him did it and was well informed on the situation and didn't just make the sexy hire. But that's kind of all it is right now. There's not a lot of substance behind it yet. Did anyone see the professional fishing tournament at Lake Michigan where the winner had lead weights inside their catches? I have no clue what that means, so I didn't see that. We don't need a coach with no Power 5 experience. Isn't that why everyone hates Harsin? No, there's many reasons why people hate Harsin now. At the time, that was one of my biggest worries, is that we were hiring someone to replace someone that was a perennial competitor in Power 5, established and being able to recruit, despite what others may say, being able to compete with Alabama, sometimes with Georgia and LSU, and making a bowl game every single year. You couldn't really ask for a whole lot given the context of what you're competing against at that time, and that's going to stir people up, even just suggesting that. Hillbilly, I keep telling it to you, buddy. 4 and 5 stars do not matter. What matters is what they are when they're done at Auburn. So you keep getting excited about them all you want. I will just wait till they get to campus and be very happy when the Roger McCreary's who come in under-recruited and were 3 stars and being dismissed by people exit as 5 stars. But yeah, so the whole Power 5 thing, listen, we've done, if Harsin gets fired, we've done the whole non-Power 5 thing. We need to go get a Power 5 coach, someone that's got experience doing that. Hopefully someone, in the Big Ten, or I'm not suggesting any names. I'm just throwing it out there. A variety of names out there. SEC, still Lane Kiffin. I wouldn't prefer that, but it is what it is. What's up, E-Money? Good to see you. I know it's too late, but wished more thought would have been considered when Gus was fired under difficult circumstances. Oh boy, don't stir people up tonight, E-Money. A lot of people questioning that now. And I think that's a good, if you are questioning that now, that shows a lot of not to say you were wrong previously, but like being able to rationalize and ask that question shows that you have a lot of self-awareness and are able to not just be like others, a cocky, arrogant son of a gun behind a profile. That shows a lot of critical thought that not a lot of people have. So credit to you, E-Money. And I'm not saying that it's true that we shouldn't have fired Gus right now. I think at the time it was the wrong decision. The way that Harsin looks right now, it probably doesn't look all that great of a decision, but only time will tell. Oh, I'm so glad you brought this up. Here, let's talk about something we do agree on. Jabari, 21 points tonight, was 5 for 7 from 3-point range. Jabari Smith, boys and girls, is the real deal for the Houston Rockets. And the dude loves Auburn with his heart and soul. You can't ask for much more. So we may be getting the next Charles Barkley of our generation, where they go have this amazing career. Hopefully, if he stays healthy and everything goes well for him, he's got the star power behind it. And maybe he's the next big ambassador when, heaven forbid, Charles Barkley passes on, hopefully long into the future, for Auburn basketball in that sense. Like, that's what Jabari means to me and strikes me as. So I'm thankful that you brought that up tonight. Let's see here. I went back to bowl games and out of conference games, and we have been beaten by teams out west. Harsin has qualities that I like. Pat Summitt like in many ways. That is why I want him to stay. I don't know how all of those are connected, Debbie. I know sometimes it's hard to convey that when we're typing things out, but I think I understand why you want him to stay. Fortunately, I think I kind of get that. Yeah. Let's see here. Jabari's amazing. We all knew he could be, but his success only helps our basketball team. Absolutely. Great ambassador for the team. Roger McCreary, 6th in the NFL in tackles. What is it? 3 games into the season, or 2 games in the season, he won the starting job. And a lot of people are not shocked by that who were watching him in the Titans camp. I heard rumblings about that in like their summer workouts, that because of injuries for the Titans cornerbacks, that he could easily find himself in the starting job. So listen, you may not like Gus Malzahn, but you cannot argue with his results of putting defensive backs into the NFL. Jamel Dean, Carlton Davis, Jonathan Jones. We're just talking about Roger McCreary. Brandon King was there for a while. I feel like I'm missing a lot. Noah Igbenogany, though he's kind of fallen off, but he got into the first round. Listen, never thought I'd say that about a Gus Malzahn coach team, but DBU we were in under his reign. All right, I'll take a few more comments and questions, and then we'll hop out of here. A couple of reminders for you. Let's talk about schedule first for the week. Tomorrow night, breakdown and grades for the LSU game, hopefully with Ben King. I got to follow up with him, make sure he's available, but we'll be doing that live tomorrow. Nothing planned for Tuesday. Wednesday, our normal call-in everything show, kind of similar to what we're doing now. We'll just talk, hopefully hear from some of you on the phone calls. If you got some of these hot topics and stuff and you like to share some hot takes, call in. I know it seems scary. I don't bite super hard. Call in on those days. And then this Thursday, we will not, I'm going to keep repeating this, we will not have a preview show, not because we're dreading the Georgia game, but because I will be out of town for a previously scheduled obligation. So no Thursday night preview show, and I apologize for that in advance, but that is the stuff that we'll keep talking about. Check out all the links in the description for ways you can help support our content. You can become a channel member. You can become a booster club member. All of those things are available for you too. The channel members are easy. Just hit the join button down there, or you can hit the thanks button if you don't want to join a monthly thing, or you can join the booster club, which I brought up a little bit earlier here. Patreon.com/E2C Network helps keep the lights on here at E2C Network Central. You guys are very helpful for those of you who do that, but you help us out by just being here, hanging out with me, talking about being part of the Auburn family. All right, final comments, questions, derogatory rebuttals. Yes, the Tua thing was, it was rough to watch. It seems Smoke Monday was on his way before the injury. Yeah, I think I would caution about Smoke, not because I don't love the dude and I love his tenacity. I've said this before, he was born into the wrong era of football, that being the targeting era. And if he is in Carlos Rogers, Junior Rose Green era, where he can just light people up, the man is an absolute giant in terms of what he could do. But in this era of sometimes, because I know that's kind of hard to say with what's recently been going on with some injuries, over caution on some of these protection of players. Not saying anything about the current ones. Please hear me on that. But he just is in the wrong era. And I wonder if that would be a problem in the NFL for him back then. Oh, you won't be able to call in. That's Colin's not scary. It's super fun. More people should do it. Well, and they don't have to. That's the great thing about having this option here. But usually the people that like to make a bunch of these bold statements and stuff, usually not brave enough to call in because they don't want to have to defend it over the phone. Anyway, all right, that's enough of me stirring the pot tonight. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me and Austin earlier. If you haven't gone back and listened to the live stream of the episode, it will be available on all podcast formats, and it will be available on our audio-only podcast channel, our second YouTube channel. Links are available in the description. Thank y'all for hanging out with us. Thank you for being part of our little family within the Auburn family. Hang in there, folks. It'll get better for you.